All right, so let's see printmaking. So printing is a process for reproducing text and images using a master form or template. So there are five big printing techniques: relief, intaglio, lithography, screen printing, and digital inkjet. So we're gonna skip the last one, digital inkjet. Probably everyone knows what it is. So so we're gonna see
Good
these
morning,
four.
Professor.
Good morning. These four printmaking techniques in art: relief, intaglio, lithography, screen printing techniques. So again, this is the toughest chapter to understand for the midterm. So I need you to prepare note taking to write all the terms and the explanation. All right, so
Is it going to be, I'm sorry not to cut you off, is it going to be on Moodle Rooms? I mean, like
yes,
a
yes.
web sign like that?
This lecture slides in the Moodle room. Yes.
So is it multiple choice or we have to write it?
The midterm. So everyone, we're gonna review the chapters for the midterm after the break. So this is the last chapter before the midterm. So we're gonna see this first, and then we're gonna review after the break. And also, I'm not gonna post the
What
midterm
break?
review file. And I'm not gonna record for the midterm review, but for this chapter, I'm recording
What break?
after the break. So
I asked, what break do we get?
see, so let's see the first the print technique, relief. So relief print make the print plates raised areas hold the ink. So this is the print making plates, the side view. So probably the artist make some images like this, the incised area, and then the top part hold the ink to print. So the term relief describes any printing method in which the image to be printed is raised from the background. So this is the relief printing process. So here is an image that the artist wants to print, and the image is transferred to the block. So most of artists use wood block or soft block to create the relief printing. So here is the sketch on the block. And then step 3, the surface area that will not be printed is curved away like this. And step 4, the remaining protruding surface is carefully inked like this. So now, like we just saw, the raised area hold the ink, not the incised area. And the raised inked area is transferred to the surface to be printed. So that is the basic concept of relief. So there are 3 popular ways of relief printing. So first one is woodcut, and the next one is wood engraving, and the last one is linocut. So this is woodcut. So an artist curves an image like this, like this, the artist curved the image lines, not the background that much, except for the foreground. So an artist usually use the gauzes, which is the woodcut knives. So to make the woodcut. So it looks like this. And this is a wood engraving. So wood engraving is printmaking and letterpress printing technique in which an artist works an image or matrix of images into a block of wood. So as you can see, an artist just leave the outline of the images like this, and then curved away all the background and some parts of the inside of the images. So that is wood engraving.
So there's 3 types of print relief.
Can you say again?
So is it 3 types of print reliefs? Like I don't understand what exactly.
Okay. So these 3 are all relief types. So these 3 types are the like this, the raised area, the top part, the surface of the plate hold the ink to print. This one is same. I will show you video soon to for your understanding. And the lino cut. So lino cut is called also linoleum cut. So this is called the linoleum. This is a linoleum. So it's just softer and easy to cut compared to the wood, because wood is very hard to curve. So so it is just similar to wood cut and wood engraving. So with these blocks, artists can make the wood cut technique and the wood engraving technique as well. But it's just, much softer than the wood. So like this. So let me share a video for your understanding.
The MDF, so there's no grain, and this is a drawing that I have transferred to the MDF. These are the tools I use.
So he just said he used MDF. So the MDF is a type of wood block. So this is the MDF.
Tools. So I got U-gouges.
So he just said, he just using the gauzes to curve the images.
Assortment of sizes, V-gouge, and then I would tone the block with an acrylic so I can see my mark. What I've done here with the graphite, because if I was just to make a mark in the wood without toning it, you can't really see what you're doing. Lay some color down, boom, it really pops out. After I've gotten all of my detail outline work out of the way, then I will go in with a bigger U-gouge, carve around the whole piece. So you get
But you know what? I like him so much, and I hate that I like him. I like.
This was once 3/4 inch, and now it's at some points down to like not even a half inch.
All right, so listen, everyone. Is this woodcut or wood engraving?
I think it's wood engraving.
Wood engraving, yes. This is wood engraving. Why? Because he just, left all the images outline, and then he, curved all the background and some inside part of the, image. So this is the wood engraving. Very good. And this, the outlines are raised on the plate. So this top part is going to be hold the ink.
So I've gone and just chiseled out all that. Makes it look really clean. It confuses people. Is that a woodcut or is that a screen print? And so that's what I like to go for. The first part of printing is getting a nice ink palette going. This is a Japanese ink. Basically, what you're looking for is a nice velvet kind of sheen. You don't want to put too much ink. And I want that porridge just perfect.
See, the top part hold the ink.
This is just caveman registration right here, just so I know where to put the paper and where to put the actual little block. And I like to wet the paper to get really nice, rich blacks, some pretty good details. Line it up with my registration. Put the block down. Be sure no movement of the paper. So we'll roll it through the 15th century copying machine. No electricity needed. Pretty awesome.
Yeah. So that is the printing result. So again, any printing type to be printed from the surface of the plate is called relief. And so everyone knows a stamp, right? The stamp the kids are playing with. So that
stamps is like that too.
Yes, so that is also wood engraving, one of the relief technique. Okay. So that one is the easiest one to understand. So now we're going to move on to the intaglio. So intaglio is totally opposite concepts of a printing technique. So here, so this is the side view of a plate, and the incised parts are holding the ink. It's really hard to imagine, how it works. So let me show you the process first.
So this is another type of print relief?
Yes, another types of printing, yes, intaglio. And all the intaglio printing techniques, the printing plates, the incised area hold the ink, not the top part, not the surface part, the incised part. So here is an image that an artist wants to print, and with a sharp tool or something else, the artist incised the image into the plate. So for the intaglio, most of artists use a metal plate to make a scratch to create the images. So that scratch part hold the ink. So the plate is inked, and the surface of the plate is wiped away, and removing all ink except the grooves. See the scratches, the image lines, it's dark enough with the ink. And step 5, the print is placed on the press machine, and it is pressed. And step 6, the paper lifts the ink out of the grooves, and the ink is imprinted on the paper. And the last, this is the image in a reversed way. So that is the basic concepts of intaglio. And like the relief technique, we're gonna see 3 types of intaglio printing. So the first one is dry point, and the next one is etching, and the last one is aquatint. So they are slightly different. So again, these are all the intaglio printing technique. And intaglio is exactly the reverse of relief. In that the areas meant to print are below the surface of the printing plate. The artist uses a sharp tool or acid to make the depression, like lines, grooves, or pits in a metal plate. And when the plate is inked, the ink sinks into the depressions. Then the surface of the plate is wiped clean. When damped paper is brought into contact with the plate under pressure, then the paper is pushed into the depressions to pick up the image. So let's see one by one. So we're going to see the dry point of intaglio printing technique first. So dry point is kind of similar to the engraving, so except that the cutting instrument used is a dry point needle. So the artist use a needle to draw something on the plate. And the artist draws on the plate, and usually a copper plate, almost as freely as one can draw on paper with a pencil. And as the needle scratches across the plate, it raises a burr or thin ridge of metal. And if left in place, the burr will hold ink along with the incised line, producing a soft, slightly blurred line when printed. So let me show you a video. To see the process together.
And creates a burr which catches the ink. I'm using an Akua printmaking plastic plate.
So she's using plastic plate instead of the metal plate. It's just optional for the dry point.
It's very soft and easy to incise and press into.
And she's making the burr. Now, this is kind of sandpaper roller to make scratches.
This is a line roulette dry point tool. It leaves an impression of a series of short lines. Rich darks are created by overlapping and cross action. This roulette has a random dot pattern, which creates tonal values and textural effects. Needle tip dry point tools offer fine lines on top of the roulette marks or on top of the smooth surface of the plate. The image is finished and ready to be inked up for printing. I'm going to use Akua Intaglio soy-based ink right from the jar. Akua Intaglio ink is perfect for printing a dry point plate. The ink is applied gently with a piece of mat cord.
So she's pushing the ink into the images with this paper card.
The plate is completely covered with a thin layer of ink. A pool of wiping fabric is used to wipe away excess ink. An inky piece of wiping fabric rolled into a ball is used first. Akua wiping fabric is recommended because it is softer than tarlatan, yet more absorbent than cheesecloth. Akua Intaglio ink will not skin or harden.
Okay, so see, she just wiped away all the ink from the surface of the plate, but the burrs hold the ink. So the ink is, so in all the scratches lines.
Wiping fabric. To remove more plate tone and create a higher contrast print, I will continue to wipe the plate with a clean piece of wiping fabric. Once the desired amount of ink is removed, the plate is run through an etching press along with a piece of dampened paper. When printing with the Kuo-Intaglio ink, it is very important that the paper is just slightly damp. If the paper is too wet, the print will dry hazy. An hour ago, I sprayed the paper and then placed it in a plastic bag.
So the wet paper soaked the ink when it pressed.
Blotting before printing will ensure that the paper is not too wet. For easy registration, I prepared a template and placed it on the press bed.
So, Professor,
Yes.
basically it's like a body tattoo with the water, like kind of like that, right?
Oh,
Where
you know
just
what?
pour the
Yes,
water on
yeah.
the skin of the.
You know what? This is the same technique with the tattoo. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
As the plate goes through the press, the ink is being transferred from the plate to the paper. The high pigment load in a Kuo-Intaglio Mars Black highlights the velvety appearance of the dry point line.
Yeah, looks so cool, right? So it looks like just like the pencil drawing. So the dry point requires to use a plate, plastic or metal plate, and the needle. So this is the dry point work of
Can you
art.
go back for a minute, Professor, please?
Of course.
I think I know.
So again, these birds, the artist make the scratches on the plate, and the birds hold the ink. The inside the area hold the ink, not the top part. And the point is the dry point printing used the needle to make an image. So that is the biggest feature of this Intaglio dry point printing technique. Can I move on, Sanaya?
Yes, I'm finished.
Okay. And the next one, etching of Intaglio. So the etching is done with acids that eat lines and depressions into a metal plate, much as sharp tools cut those depression in the method. So the process is here. So it's slightly different with the dry point in terms of using the acid. So the artist coats the entire printing plate with an acid-resistant substance called ground. So this is the ground. It is coated on the top of the plate. And then the artist draws on the coated plate with an etching needle. So like the dry point, so now the artist creating the image by making the scratching on the plate. And the needle removes the ground like this, exposing the burr and the bare metal in areas meant to print. So this part is going to be hold the ink. And the entire plate is dipped in acid to make a depression, to make a deeper printing color like this. And only the portions of the plate intact. And the ground removed and the plate is inked and printed. So that is the basic concept of etching. Let me show you a video to see the process.
Etching ground, and of course you'll need a plate. The next thing you'll need to do is use the brush to apply the ground to the plate.
So see, he's applying the ground to coat the plate. So the ground is the acid resistant substance.
You may choose to dab the brush because you don't want brush strokes, you just want a smooth surface. Then allow the ground to dry on the plate. Allow ample time for this to happen. It may be several hours. Overnight is a good idea. Next, you'll begin to scratch off the areas that you want to be black.
Yes, like this. So he's making the scratches to create an image, and this inside the area is going to be depression in the acid bath, and then that line's going to be hold the ink.
You might achieve this by scratching in a crosshatch pattern or perhaps using squiggly lines. You can use any sharp tool to accomplish this. In this case, I prepared my plate using a leather punch. Here's a look at the completed plate for this etching. Next, you'll pour the acid into a container and drop the etched plate into the acid bath. You'll now allow the acid bath to bite into the plate. Everywhere where there is not ground, the acid will bite into the plate.
So now the lines can be, create like a deeper depression. And he's, cleaning the ground.
Now gather your ink supplies.
For the
This will
printing.
include oil-based printing ink and some type of card. Next, spread the ink around with the card.
See, so now it's just the same as the dry point. He's pressing the ink on the plate so that all the scratches can hold the ink.
Be sure to force the ink into the grooves of the plate. Now you may choose to use newspaper or cheesecloth and gently wipe away the ink from the surface of the plate. Now lay the prepared plate onto the press. Lay the paper on top of the plate inside.
So this paper is also wet to soak the ink from the plate.
The press. Run the plate through the press and gently pull away the print from the plate, pulling from one corner. Here's a look at the completed print and the plate beside each other.
All right, so that was the etching. So there is one thing difference, using the acid, between the dry point and the etching. So here is the etching printing work. So it shows like deeper, shading lines in the background compared to the dry point because it's using the acid to make a depression of the lines. So that is the biggest difference with the dry point. And the last intaglio printing technique we are going to see is aqua tint. So aqua tint is a way of achieving flat of tone gray values or intermediate values of color. So it doesn't need a needle to draw something on the plate like the other two intaglio techniques we just saw. Again, it doesn't need a needle. And the artist first does it with finely powdered resin like this. And then the plate is heated so that the resin sticks to it like this. And the resin registers acid. So when the plate is immersed in acid, the acid will bite all around the resin particles, so producing a pitted surface that holds ink evenly. And the artist block non-printing area with ground and brush, and dip the entire plate into an acid bath like this. And the ground is removed and the plate is inked now into the incised area and then printed. So for the aqua tint, the artist just to use the acid and the ground to make an image. So let me show you how to make an aqua tint print. So he just applied the resin, the powder, and he's heated to stick the powders onto the plate. And now he's applying the ground, which is the acid resistant substance to protect from the acid. And the silver part is going to be make a depression. And he's keep doing the same process now by creating diverse depressions to make the different shading on it. See, so some parts keeps exposure from the acid, then that part is going to be making dark shading when it is printed, and some parts is going to be it's just totally not exposure from the acid. And he's gonna keep doing it, and now he's removing all the ground to print. See, can you see that? So we can see the different depressions like this, and he didn't use any needle to draw these images. He just used the ground and the acid to make the this image shapes on the plate. You can just skip this part. So now he's preparing the printing with the wet paper, and he's inserting the ink on the plate. So now see, it's it has the different values by the exposure matter from the acid. So that is aqua tint, one of the popular technique in intaglio. All right. So it looks like this. So we cannot find any sketch or drawing lines in this artwork, right? Compared to the, etching printing, it shows lots of drawing lines with the needle. On the other hand, the aqua tint work doesn't show the lines to draw, but it just used the acid depression. Now let's move on to the third printing technique, lithography. So we are done with the relief, intaglio, and now we're gonna see the lithography. So lithography is totally different techniques with relief and intaglio. So there is an image on the plate, and the image on the lithography plate holds the ink, and the non-image area repel the ink. So there is no curving and needle drawing or acid depression. So let's see the process. So there is an image that an artist wants to print, and so this is a grease pencil based on the oil. So using this grease pencil, the design is drawn onto the limestone. So this is a real stone. This is a limestone. So for the lithography, most of artists use the limestone. And the design is drawn onto the limestone, blocking the pores. And the stone is treated with acid and other chemicals that are brushed onto its surface. So for this printing, the acid is just working for the making a special chemical effect, not for the depression. And step 4, the stone is sponged so that the water can be absorbed into the pores of the stone. And step 5, the oil-based ink is repelled by the water and sits only on the area where the oil crayon image was drawn. And step 6, the paper is laid on the surface of the stone and it is drawn through a press. And step 7, the printing is removed from the stone, and the completed image appears in reverse compared with the original image. So that is the basic process of the lithography. So let me show you the lithography working process. See, she's using a real stone to make an image. So that is the limestone. And I guess she's using a ground. And the ground, I guess the ground also it is made oil-based substance. So it can hold the oil-based ink as well.
I was not using premeditation.
So she's now using the grease pencil to draw something on it.
I mostly draw on paint, so lithography feels quite close to the feeling to painting or drawing directly on paper. I like it because it's quite painterly, and yeah, it's very close to my sensitivity. The feeling is close to do it, but actually in the print process, there are many accidents, and I'm very quick normally on the drawings, but with the printmaking, I need to be more thinking of what I'm doing. It is going to be reproduced many times, whether taking a drawing on like a stone or a plate, it feels a little bit more precious,
So now
Pressure on you.
she's applying the ink.
You need to constantly think about that the image is going to be mirrored. But even when you're drawing, actually, it's like on a piece of paper, I normally.
Did you see that? Only the greasy image part hold the ink, and the other part repels the ink.
Start from the left. But then sometimes when I print, I say, oh, okay, that looks, obviously it looks different because the figure that it meant to be on the left is on the right.
So now she's gonna print it with the slightly wet paper.
This is quite demanding. I mean, I enjoyed that part, maybe because I enjoy materials. In my BA, I did sculpture, and I'm quite, linked into materials, and I quite enjoy the physical labor of printmaking.
So that is lithography. So this is a lithography work. Lithography is a planographic process, which means that the printing surface is totally flat. It is not raised as in relief or depressed as in intaglio. To make a lithographic print, the artist draws the image on the stone with the greasy material. When the stone is inked, the greasy ink sticks to the greasy drawing. So that is the feature of lithography.
So which part is flat?
Huh?
So which part is flat?
Whole plate is flat. The whole part is flat. So as you can see, let me show you the plate again. See, there's no curving, depression. She just drew this image with the greasy material, drawing tool, and then this greasy drawing holds the ink. So all the plate is totally flat.
It's paused, or you want it's supposed to play? The video is paused. Is it supposed to play, or you were showing?
No, I just paused. No, I've already showed you.
Okay.
Oops. So now let's see the last printing technique, screen printing. So screen printing is called silk screen or serigraphy. And there is a screen here. So this is called a screen for the printing, and the ink passes through the areas of the screen that are not blocked. So this gray part are blocked, and this image part is not blocked. So the ink can pass through to the paper. Traditionally, this printing technique is used for t-shirt printing. Screen printing is a printing technique where a mesh, so this is a mesh, is used to transfer ink onto a substrate, except in areas made impermeable to the ink by a blocking stencil. So these parts are blocked. And the screen is fine mesh or synthetic fiber mounted in a frame, rather like a window screen. Working from drawings, the printmaker block the screen like this that are not meant to print by plugging the holes so that no ink can pass through. Then the screen is placed over the paper, And the ink is forced through the mesh with the tool called squeezy. So this is squeezy. And only the areas not stepped out allow the ink to pass through on the paper like this. So let me show you the last video to see the process of this screen printing.
You're gonna need a screen, a squeegee.
So this is a screen.
Stuff comes in two parts. You're gonna add a little water to the little bottle of sensitizer and mix it up.
He's making a substance to hold this screen where he doesn't want to print.
Loosens it from the sides of the bottle, and then you can pour it into the emulsion. Then you're gonna mix that all together really, really well until it's a consistent green color. It might take a little while, but you wanna make sure that you get it fully consistent. Once you have it, you pour a little bit of it onto the screen. You don't need to use very much because it spreads really thin once you use a squeegee. Make sure to get the entire thing covered where your art's gonna be and make sure it's really, really even. Now don't leave this out in the light. Put a fan on it to dry and turn the lights off.
Okay, so this green substance is very light sensitive. So when it exposure by the light, the whole mesh is blocked. So the artist cannot print. So, that's why he just leave it in the dark to dry.
And turn the lights off. You want it to dry in the dark. Once it's dry, you do want to work quickly because this stuff is photo.
Then now you're gonna use the light to block the background, and the dark area, is not exposure by the light. So that part is going to be, passed through the ink.
So the longer the light's on it, the quicker it's going to set. Print out your art on some transparencies, and you can do this at any office supply store, and then lay them backward on the back of the screen. Lay a piece of glass over them to push them down against the screen, and then set a really bright light on top of it for about 30 or 45 minutes. Spray and a soft toothbrush to help remove this area. The way printing works is that the green area acts as a mask.
See, now the background is blocked, and the image area is empty.
Or lighter area lets the ink through onto the surface that you're printing on. You want to do this gently because you don't want to remove anything that you actually need. This may take a little bit of time, and sometimes you may have mistakes. If you have areas that are mistakes or stuff you don't want to print yet, you can use some tape to cover them up. Use painter's tape and not duct tape. The duct tape will rip off the emulsion. Now lay out your shirt and place your screen, then add a nice thick bead of the screen printing ink. It's best to have somebody else hold your screen and then pull the squeegee down across your print.
Yes, so that is screen printing. Pretty awesome, right? Okay, so for screen printing, artists use one screen frame for each color. So this is a screen printing work. Looks like a solid acrylic painting, and the artist used one frame for the ivory color. As we just saw, he just used white color for the one frame, right? Or if he I guess he just want to use different colors, so I guess he blocked the bottom part. So so basically, a circle screen requires to use one screen for one color, like this. So I can see here is one frame for the ivory color, and one is for the light gray and the medium gray and the navy and red and dark red and the background. So for the background, I guess here the artist put the two colors on the top of the frame and then squeeze it together to make a natural gradation like this. So, so the artist used 7 frames in this silk screen work. So that's a lot. It looks like very great work of art with an excellent technique. All right, so that's it for this chapter. So printing is kind of tricky to understand without visually watching how to do it. So you're gonna watch all the videos again after the meeting. So here's today's discussion. So everyone, after this meeting, please watch all the videos below in this discussion section. So you will see the same video links we just watched together. So please watch them again. And then choose one of the traditional printing technique and tell us the brief printing features and process. So this is the today's discussion.